Hi there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. I have to share this with you. We did this on a live stream the other day and it was so much fun, but I know not everybody watches those long videos and I thought this is such a great frugal tip that it would be perfect for Frugal Friday. So here is a card that I made. It's a collage style and it's held together with wax. And this is a great frugal tip because you can use up the your wax melts. Like, you know, after you've used your wax, your scented wax for a while, they lose their smell, and then you'd throw out the wax and you start a few new wax melts. Well, you can actually use that as a collage glue. Now keep in mind there will still be some lovely smell left to it, which I think is wonderful, but if you are sending a card to somebody that has some allergies, you might want to skip this. You could also use these little scent warmers that you can get at any store, any department store. This came from AC Moore a few years ago. I know Christmas Tree Shop has them. I think Walmart, Target, all those places. You could use this to melt beeswax if you prefer a more natural option. But I figure, why throw away the descented wax? Why not use it? And the waxes will generally have a little bit of a tint to them. You could purchase waxes with a color that you like, but it's not really going to show that much. This is kind of like well, I'll just paint some on the paper so you can see. It's like just kind of a slight ivory cream color, which works really nice when you're doing vintage collage type stuff. So I also recommend you have a heat tool handy because wax melts they don't get super hot, so it's not like you're doing a double boiler and you're melting wax to make candles. It does not get as hot as that. And what you're going to do is use that to adhere your pieces. Now I'd recommend starting off with something like a mulberry paper or a napkin. And this is just a paper napkin I got from either Christmas Tree Shop or Dollar Tree or someplace like that. I'm not exactly 100% sure where. And you're just going to brush on a coating. And I love the texture that you get here. You'll see the brush strokes. Now the brush I'm using, this is actually a good quality brush. This is a Mimic Hog, which is a faux hog brush, but this came in a set and I don't use the round brushes that often. I tend to use small rounds, but honestly I use more flats and filberts. So I figured this would be a good one to have just for wax because it is a nice quality. It holds a good amount and I know it will last pretty well for me. But you could also go to your dollar store and get a hog brush. I do like the Mimics because they're synthetic, but just look through your stash. You probably have something that will work. Now, when we're done, we're actually going to heat this with a heat tool, and that's going to make it a little bit more clear. But it does give it a little bit of a hazy effect that's really pretty. Now, I don't know if I want to use that. That's going to cover up too much. I think I'll use that. Now, one way to give this kind of a fun vintage look is to tear edges. And I like to tear it so that I can see the white of the paper. So if you tear the part, let's see, if you tear towards yourself, the white edge will be tear towards you. I don't know, tear it both ways and see which way gives you a pretty white edge, I guess, because I can never remember. I'm going to put that right up to the edge because I like that UG soap there. I'm going to put a little bit of wax on the back so that when I heat it up, it'll adhere really well. Hope I'm getting that lined up. And I don't have to put any on the back because it will, it'll seep through when I heat it up. Now, I would recommend using caution if you're doing this project with kids, but this is definitely something you could do with kids. Now, this isn't going to want to stick down too well right now, so what I'm going to do is grab my heat tool, and I'm going to just heat it, because wax is kind of, it wants to repel each other. And if you make a mistake and you don't like it, the thicker papers you will be able to peel off. I want to reposition that a little bit, so just carefully. Oh, it smells so nice too. I probably wouldn't do this with brand new fresh wax because I think like a new wax melt, I think it would be a little bit too strong. I'm trying to think where I want to put this one while I'm at it. I might just stick it down in the hot wax, but I think I want to tear that one as well. I really like the torn edges. Yeah, maybe just do a this one's craft colored all the way through, so it's not going to give me it's not going to show an edge. And also you'll notice, like, if you're using a thin paper, it'll become a little less distinct. And the wax will absorb into it. Ah, I just lost it. It just moved around on me, but that's alright. I can peel it back very, very easily. Now a heat tool is different than a hairdryer because a hairdryer blows a lot of air. So a hairdryer might work in this for this project, but it might also kind of splatter a little bit. So, you know, if you're using a hairdryer, just make sure you don't use too much wax. And if you want to tack this down with some adhesive, you can, but heat does tend to lift adhesive up. I might do a little stitching over this just to hold some stuff down. Now another thing you can use are stickers, and the stickers are not going to stick to this wax, but once you get them down, then you can add wax on top and heat them up again. So I've got this really pretty book. You can find these in any bookstore. This is usually $25 at BAM, but they had it on the bargain bin for some reason. But also I've noticed at Amazon you can find that this book for about $15. So is that kind of big? I just like to audition. Actually, I could stick that down there now that it's dry, and I could move it around, decide if I like it, and put it back in the book if I don't really like it. I think that's kind of pretty, actually. It's not going to stick. It's almost acting like a release paper, so you know you can actually play with it a bit. I'm not sure. I like that one. I'm going to save this book though when I'm done, because sometimes I like to I'll peel off a piece of washi tape or I'll peel off a sticker, and I won't actually want to use it like after I see it. No, that seems a little too small. And so I think I'll keep the book for actually just keeping stickers in. I think I like this. I'm gonna go. Oh, I also have a really big. It's a really big sunflower. Now these have the borders. That's the only thing I'm not crazy about with this book, is it's got the borders on them. But with a technique like this, the borders do kind of disappear a little bit. I like this butterfly too, and I feel like it needs a small little butterfly in the corner so I have 3. These stickers, another downside of those stickers is you do need to glue them in, because they don't, they're a repositionable, very low tack sticker. I think they're meant for like maybe really dainty papers, really delicate papers, or they're designed for, I can do this over here. You want to look through this with me? I can set that on there, it's not going to hurt it. I just think it's a very forgiving type of project. Let's see, one of those butterflies might work good. I think that yellow one, oh, either one of them. Either one would look nice. Even that one. Oh, I kind of like that one. That's kind of interesting, and I don't think it would go with many things, so let's do that one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go in here with a little bit of wax. You could work on a silicone mat if you wanted to, but I'll tell you what, the wax will scrape right up. Will scrape right up with a like a credit card, like a, you know, do you save your old gift cards and stuff? They are so good for craft tools because they're great for using as scraping, for scraping gesso and stuff, and they're good to cut up and use in watercolor. Definitely should save those old gift cards. I don't need a big glob that big. Alright, so let's heat it up one more time here. And you can, you might even want to intentionally put some brush strokes in there for some pretty texture. You could embed some glitter into it if you want to. I wouldn't go too crazy because, you know, it could flake off pretty easily. I'm just going to put some intentional brush strokes in here. Make sure everything gets really sealed in. You could do a postcard like this too, and that would be totally protected from the rain, which would be fun. That one keeps moving out of position. I might have to do a little stitching over that. Might not be the best thing for your sewing machine, so be aware. And I want to bring the wax right over to the edge. Now, you might want to work on a separate piece of paper and then adhere it down, because there will be a grease stain kind of on the inside. But, you know, it just depends on how picky you are. I want to have some brush strokes. I think that looks nice, so I'm just kind of continuing to brush it out while it's cooling to get that effect. Sorry about the heat pump, but once you get going with this, you kind of have to finish it up. So there you go. Actually, let's try some glass glitter while we're at it, because, oh no, the cork on there is breaking. Oh, let's try a different color. Goodness, I guess I better use that up. So I'm going to try to put a little bit down just to kind of catch it. I don't want to get the glitter on my brush though. And I want to kind of seal it down a little bit because I don't want the heat tool to just make it blow away. Okay, well, let's try that. You could do micro beads. You could embed little bits of fabric. You can actually even kind of guide the glitter around. This is I'm using the glass glitter because it's heavy. It's not going to blow away with my heat tool too much, but I can kind of let it drip a little bit. There. I think that's pretty. Okay, so now if you want to embellish it further, you could tie on some ribbon. I don't think I want to do that actually with this one. I think I'll leave it plain. But the ribbon that I used was actually just cut-offs from a quilt shop. If you have a friend who quilts and they have these little scraps, you could ask them to save it. They're just like rotary cut scraps. I picked these up at a quilt shop. They were $1 a bag. I thought they would be really fun for cards, and I've used them quite a bit. And what I did here is I tied 3 strands around and tied them at the top, and then I took one little scrap and tied it in the center just to kind of give it a window curtain effect. And I think that turned out pretty well. So here you can see the 2 finished cards. I think they are really cute, and you're using something up that you probably didn't even think that you could. You probably just thought, I gotta throw that wax away once it gets the smells gone. Another thing you can do with that wax, after the smell is done, you can actually dip pine cones in them, and they're really pretty. You dip a bunch of pine cones in them, or even just in the bottom, and then let them cool, and those are great campfire starters. So you could package them up in a cute bag with a little, scrap of ribbon for a tie, and then you can give them to people that have backyard fire pits or fireplaces to use, not for use in wood stoves, but for open fireplaces and fire pits. They will be fine for that. I want to thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Frugal Friday video, and until next time, happy crafting!